Sorry for making a bunch of little videos, but I found that people tend to like it better when I've got a small video rather than a bunch of large ones. And so they just when things come to me, I just throw them out on my site and kind of forget them. I don't really care so much if people view them or not. It's kind of just you got it on your mind, you might as well share it with somebody. It's just like Facebook. You throw it up on the wall, or you go to Reddit, you have to put up a message. You know, nobody's going to read it, and you probably don't really care to see how people comment it. I have seen people give me good comments. I got this one person that keeps throwing up a link to what's basically Friend Finder, adult Friend Finder or something like that. And those guys need to realize that I and this other guy named Vincent Ye back in New York, we were working on the idea of actually doing a dating site. And we did the research. We actually asked a few business guys, and they said, people do best to go to bars to meet others. And actually, the truth is they go to bars. Christians would go to functions like volunteer functions, so like you'd be volunteering at some sort of thing, whatever it is, maybe the food bank or wherever. That's where to meet women because they don't want somebody who isn't responsible. And these dating sites, they don't work. Really, what they are is um, they're you'll find there's like one for every 10 guys, there's one girl, and that girl doesn't, you know, has put money into it. They show up and then they disappear. They usually don't hang on. I'm sure there are plenty of examples where it works, but in the large part, I think if you go and do the research, you'll find out they don't work. Most of them don't work, and the reason why is because you can never really trust in meeting someone that you don't know, and it's so much better to go through a friend, have a friend get to know them. It's just the same sort of problem you run into when you're trying to find a job. People are not going to go with you unless they really have a feeling for that they know you. Okay, they know you through a friend, so they usually go through friends to find people for jobs. They won't usually go and get a random nobody. And however, there is a caveat to that. Thomas Dolby, when he made his first album, it was after he got to work with Foreigner 4, and what they did was they went looking through, I guess the want ads, or not the want ads, but the people that put up their you know ads to try to get work, and they found this guy named Dolby, and they made this wrong assumption that he was the Dolby who created the special filter on cassette tape recorders and other things, the Dolby sound system, which is really just to de-emphasize certain, or to emphasize and de-emphasize certain frequencies or harmonics in the in a playback. And they thought he was related to that Dolby, so they hired him up, and they got more than they expected for. They got a guy who could do a lot of really cool stuff with the synthesizer, but he wouldn't have gotten to that point if it hadn't been for his name and for somebody to mistake him for somebody else. So even your name, the name you pick, if you're trying to get in with somebody, can either make or break you. That's Rodney Dangerfield said the same thing. Is that he didn't come up with his name his his until his agent suggested that he change his name, and he was like, "Well, why should I change my name?" Well, one thing was is he was carrying on his father's old name, and his father really didn't have much to do with him growing up. So he was kind of his own man, and by he came up with a process that I'm always nobody understands me. I get no respect. I get no respect at all. And it was the truth every time he talked about it. He never got any respect in his life. His mother didn't look after him, and he said it was not it was not any leap of the imagination that from time to time he would there would be men that would park up next to their house, give him a nickel just to kiss, for him to kiss the stranger. And so you can see where that's going. And he could have been picked up by a stranger, come back in a couple of days, and his mother wouldn't have even realized that he was gone. That is the kind of picture that he painted, or other people had painted. Um, I saw a documentary on him, but he's got an interesting story, and if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have Jim Carrey, wouldn't have had Robin Williams or any of those guys, because they all got their start at Dangerfields. I don't know if Robin Williams was one, but I think it was Billy Crystal. I'm not sure, but a lot of comedians got their start at Dangerfields, and the reason why he had a comedy club is he didn't want to go on tour. He didn't want to be like his father, being out um, touring um, as being a vaudevillian comedian performer, and vaudevillian performers had to go from town to town, and he didn't want to be that. He wanted to be there for his children, so he decided to set up a club, and through that he did his ministry, which is get comedians in front of people, get good. And um, somebody said that whenever they were making Caddyshack, he would deliver his lines, and then he felt really depressed because nobody laughed. And then somebody said to him, "No, if people laughed, it would ruin the movie." And then he went, "Oh, certain things that I mean, things that you would think that people would get, but he's lived his life a certain way." And it's a very interesting story to read up on that documentary. But I forgot what I was really coming up here for. Yeah, I'll remember later.